Hello, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ilana Rennert. I help manage outbound marketing here at SanDisk, a Western digital brand. And very honored today to be joined by Thomas Cornley, Chief Product Officer at Nexenta, with Steve Wilkins, our Product and Solution Marketing Manager at Western Digital, to talk about staying ahead of the software-defined storage curve. There's a lot of options out there, and we want to show you how you can stay ahead and on top of the latest technologies with Nexenta and SanDisk. We will be making some forward-looking statements today, so just anything we say, just don't take it to the stock market. And to introduce the speakers, hello, there I am. I'm your moderator today. And then I'd like just to hand it over to Thomas to give a quick introduction and say hello.
Hi, thank you, Ilona. Good morning, everyone. So Thomas Cornley, I run products at Nexenta, which is all of engineering and product management. And I've been with the company for a couple of years now, a bit more than a couple of years, and working with SanDisk very closely for the past 18 months.
Thank you. And Steve, will you say hello?
Good morning. Yes, thanks very much. I'm Steve Wilkins, responsible for the solutions for our data center flash products here at Western Digital, and would like to say thanks very much, Thomas, for finding some time to be with us today. Before we dive into the meat of this discussion, talking about staying ahead of the software-defined storage curve, I think we should recognize that maybe some of the attendees today may be just starting to look at software-defined storage and getting to grips with what it is. So maybe we should start with a quick overview of what software-defined storage actually is.
No, that makes sense. Absolutely. So we just move on to the next slide here. I think if you take a step back, right, and you just look at storage broadly over the past, 15, 20 years, right, it's really been sold as a system business, right? You would get a storage appliance, which would have proprietary hardware and software all packaged in one, delivered by one, and supported by one company, one vendor. What software-defined storage really is changing, and there's different flavors to it in terms of architecture, right? Nexenta, we do a lot of the storage platforms, scale up or scale out. Software-defined storage, you get hyper-converged software-defined storage, but fundamentally, the core principle is you separate the storage software, which is where you're delivering all your storage services, data protection, and access protocols, from the underlying hardware, and you end up having a solution that combines industry standard hardware. Those could be servers, could be JBODs, could be flash optimized systems, with separate software that is optimized to go and deliver your performance, storage services, data protection, and so forth, right? So that's the crux of the idea is you go from one black box effectively to software delivered separately, potentially from the underlying standard hardware, right?
That's great. Thanks for explaining that. So as we go forward, what should IT teams look for as they look to purchase, get involved in software-defined storage? What are the business needs that might be driving that, and how does software-defined storage help that?
Sure. So maybe before we get to the IT requirements, we talked about the technology aspects of software-defined storage, which is you go from one single appliance black box to software running on industry standard hardware. The question we get often asked is, why? Why does it make sense? Why should an IT and CIO kind of look at SDS as a direction for the infrastructure? And it really comes down to a couple of things, right? One of them really is taking control of your storage platforms effectively as a user, right? Remove lock-in, get flexibility, and then get the benefit of one standard software layer that provides a consistent set of storage services, right, that can run on a variety of hardware platforms that you get to acquire from your preferred server vendor at typically much lower cost than when you're buying storage as a storage appliance. And so you get this benefit of you can standardize, you get flexibility, you get access to the latest innovation, right? And this is something that we obviously have been able to go and deliver to the market, working closely with SanDisk. But you also get to go and drive down cost, right? So that's one of those big things. The thing that Nexenta has been focusing on in our approach to software-defined storage is really look at building platforms that can go and simply replace legacy storage appliances without requiring the need to go and re-architect your applications or re-architect the entire ecosystem around your storage systems. In the end, you can go take a legacy platform from, pick your vendor, right? EMC, NetApp, HP, IBM, I mean, in the end, whoever's been selling legacy storage appliances, and simply slide out that older platform and slide in an Nexenta-based solution with your preferred standard hardware vendor. So there's this combination here of cost savings, flexibility, and then ease of introduction, ease of use. That's important for us in software-defined storage.
Very good.
If we see what's been driving this, right? If you look at your business requirements from your data center perspective, right? You got your data center, and in there you've got your usual core components, right? Compute, storage, networking, space and power and cooling requirements. But you get new pressures here coming from the outside and the business, which really are driven by what your business is doing, which is supporting more social-based applications, mobile applications. You got IoT and big data coming in and putting more pressure on infrastructure, and then obviously cloud, right? And so the question becomes, how do you go and meet those new business requirements while you're still running your own infrastructure, and you have to go and keep it flexible, keep it agile, and make it evolve to support those new requirements at the right cost point, right? And so this is where you get access to different solutions, from cloud to virtualization to hyper-converged. And the things we want to see and focus on here is the combination of all flash on one side from a hardware perspective, and software-defined storage solutions on the software perspective to go and get a cost-optimized, high-performance solution that delivers all of your and can meet all of your business requirements.
Cool. So I think that I hear that the industry analysts are pushing towards software-defined also in this area.
Correct. So in the end, like, if you look at what the business is pushing, what you get from a storage admin and storage architect is this pressure for being able to go and store more data, deliver better performance, get more flexibility because the requirements are changing, and need to have a platform that can go and support different workloads and different platforms. While in the end, you're not getting investments in terms of more people or even more hardware budgets to go and actually deploy new infrastructure, right? So you get to go and basically combine those things, do more with less. It's the usual challenge of running infrastructure in IT. And so the good news here is, if you look at some of our friends, right, from IDC, what they're spotting are kind of big trends that can go and be combined to go and help those requirements. On one side, you have these new trends around storage, which is software-defined, right, which is bringing new flexibility, lower cost to infrastructure, right? Expect to be a big growth market going forward. You've got this new approach to hardware, which is, look, let's disaggregate, right? In the end, compute nodes are compute nodes. They're very standardized. They're all Intel-based in the end. So there's actually less value add to having a custom platform for compute, right? And let's go and actually now combine this with, storage optimized platforms. And in the end, this kind of unlocks some of the benefits of things like flash, right? I think what IDC observed when they were looking to and going to their own customers and own people they were talking to is flash, up until recently, has been seen as the solution for high-performance workloads only, right? And so you focus mainly on the fact that flash could go and change the equation in terms of number of IOPS, consolidation, low latency access to data. But we've all known, being in the business in storage, looking at what flash could do, there's a lot of secondary benefits to all flash, right? And what's been kind of blocking people from getting access to those secondary benefits is mainly cost, right? So if you start being able to go and combine the cost savings and the flexibility savings and scalability savings of software-defined storage with all flash architectures, you now basically unlock the potential of all flash backend for more workloads, right? So these can be, with flash, you don't need as much capacity to go and support the same applications, because in the end, you're doing more efficient RAID on your flash devices. You can drive down the space consumption, space requirements, as well as cooling and power requirements. When you get low latency storage, what you find is your compute side, your application servers, actually require less CPU, less caching in those hosts themselves to go and meet the performance requirements at the application layer, right? Low latency storage basically unlocks the potential of your compute CPUs, and so you're not having to deploy less CPUs. You potentially can drive down cost on your own software licenses, right? You see this with people basically paying licenses for Oracle databases who are running on all flash. They actually can squeeze down the number of cores supporting database and almost pay for the entire infrastructure by just saving on cost and maintenance on their Oracle software. Last but not least, and this is an important point because we see this now with all of our customers doing all flash, is once they go all flash, they spend a lot less time managing and tweaking storage, right? Performance issues basically disappear. It's never a problem. Storage is not fast enough always, and so you don't spend a lot of your time trying to go and troubleshoot performance issues and trying to go and tweak things one way and then tweak them the other way once you find some other issues. And then last but not least, all flash means no moving parts, and so in the end, you actually get higher reliability from the infrastructure, right? So all of these things are secondary benefits to all flash. In all this, we don't talk a ton about meet the requirements of your most business critical applications and high performance applications. We're talking about how do I go and use flash now to go and simplify and just streamline your entire storage infrastructure, right? So doing more flash for more applications is potentially a big benefit for any business out there.
Right. I mean, that's such a huge contribution towards the total cost of ownership. So we talked about the technology, what's happening in the market, and the key benefits of software-defined storage. Maybe it's a good opportunity to talk about how Nexenta fits into all of this.
Thanks. So at Nexenta, we've been doing software-defined storage for a number of years now. I mean, we entered the market, back in 2008. And we've been really kind of at the forefront of this disruption. The company has grown a lot, obviously, over the past couple of years. We've expanded our portfolio. And so what this slide basically shows is, what Nexenta can deliver today in terms of software-defined storage solutions to the market. At the bottom of this slide, what you see are two products, NexentaStor and Nexenta Edge. These are truly the core technology pillars to our solutions. NexentaStor on one side is our scale-up unified block and file solution, right? It's been positioned to go after your classic enterprise type workloads, right? Running databases, running generic file servers, running generic VMware environments, OpenStack environments, cloud stack environments, right? It's been very successful at displacing legacy, appliance-based solutions. Nexenta Edge is a new offering which we brought to market about a year ago, which is a scale-out block and object solution. Very much positioned at the OpenStack market today, right? Key points of differentiation for Nexenta Edge is performance and the fact that we've got a scale-out solution that delivers cluster-wide inline deduplication and compression for the entire cluster. On top of these solutions, what we've been focusing on is, again, it's not just about technology, it's about how easy you make it for customers to adopt and deploy, is this Connect portfolio, right? So make sure that we have all the integration points into your VMware environment, your Microsoft environment, your OpenStack environments, and now, as we look at the future, Docker environments. So this Connect portfolio of basically integration points is a key aspect of getting an Nexenta solution to just plug in to what you already have deployed when it comes to the compute environment. Last but not least, as we see customers deploy more and more capacity, we basically invested in a solution called Nexenta Fusion, which provides a single pane of glass for provisioning, management, and monitoring of the entire Nexenta estate in the environment. So Nexenta Fusion is a new product, but you get a combination of Fusion for management of all of the infrastructure being running on Nexenta software-defined storage.
That's great, and of course Flash fits right into that, doesn't it?
And that's correct, right? And this is very much what we've been seeing. I think if you look at Nexenta, historically the company was selling a lot into all disk and hybrid environments. We've seen a massive shift over the past 18 months towards all flash architectures, right? And when you look at why customers are doing this, it really goes down to what we just discussed at big trends in the market, right? Is flash basically brings huge benefits to your hardware infrastructure, your data center infrastructure in terms of lower power, higher performance, scalability, and reliability. The thing that's been holding it back is true or perceived, cost problems, right? Flash is still seen as being too expensive to be deployed widely for any application. And so what we've done is actually bring the benefits of all flash by combining it with the software-defined storage approach to go and drive down the cost of those solutions. Now, that's great, right? You get performance of all flash and you get lower cost solutions. The question becomes, how do you go make sure that you get something that actually meets your requirements in terms of feature set, performance, scalability, and ease of deployment, ease of operations at scale, right? And this is really where Nexenta has been focusing our investments when it comes to the software layer.
Yeah, that's great. You know, all the people that we've been talking to recently, there are so many that are driving towards, if not an all-flash data center, certainly a mostly flash data center for at least primary workloads. So, Thomas, you and I both just came back from VMworld, which was you know, a really great experience because of all of the people out there. But I know that you had some pretty cool announcements that really moves the software-defined storage even further along. Can you tell us about some of the new features and capabilities?
Absolutely. I think so, and thanks for that. The key thing we did at VMworld was announce our new version of NexentaStor, our version 5. We've been working on this version for quite some time now. And so it's a big step up for our product. So NexentaStor 5 is about, you know, enterprise-grade unified block and file storage. In terms of core features, you know, we're kind of building on the core value props of NexentaStor. Basically, you know, a two-node active-active architecture, so fairly simple, fairly familiar to storage buyers, right? Delivering from those two nodes back-end capacity, protecting the capacity, and then serving out from, you know, common pools, block and file services. Those could be fiber channel, iSCSI, or NFS or SMB protocols. Okay. The software itself can scale to large configurations. We've got reference architectures with other partners scaling all the way up to 5 petabytes for archival use cases. Right. For all flash, obviously, we tend to stick to smaller configurations, but with InfiniFlash, we get all the way up to 2 petabytes in a system if we have to. The key features in the product really are around basically all of the core storage functionality you'd expect from enterprise product out there in terms of, you know, large pool capacity, unlimited file system sizes, you know, specific snapshots, clones, in-line data reduction, you know, HA, remote replication, and so forth. So it's from a feature perspective, a very well-rounded product, right, that can fit in to any type environment today. The thing that we changed with our NexentaStor 5 solution is the management framework, right? So the big area of focus for us was to go and revamp the entire management framework for Nexenta product, you know, building on this to go and make it simpler to deploy and simpler to operate at any scale by combining it with our Nexenta Fusion product. Okay, so that really is the crux of that big release, which is about making software-defined storage simpler than ever to deploy and operate at any scale. Other things we worked on with NexentaStor 5 were around basically optimizing for all flash. That makes sense. We've seen the trend. We basically are investing further into this in terms of performance optimizations. With the new management framework that opens up new opportunities to go and do deeper integration. So we were at VMworld. We focused on, you know, showcasing some of the integration we have with VMware vSphere, new vCenter plugin, VI integration, obviously, and also our VASA provider for VMware Virtual Volume support. So all of that, you know, is kind of this part of this new big release. If I take a step back in terms of the foundation of that management framework in NexentaStor 5, what we've done effectively is build something that provides a consistent set of self-documenting REST API. So if you look at your NexentaStor controller, your head node, what you can get from there is, as a foundation for everything else we do, is these self-documenting REST APIs that are then used as a foundation for our CLI, our Fusion, GUI, all of our plugins, our vCenter plugin, our OpenStack plugins, our Docker plugins, our Hyper-V integration. All of those are built up on this common set of APIs. The reason I spend time on this is we see a lot of customers actually want to not just use SDS to drive costs, but also increase automation in their environment. And by providing the self-documenting REST API, we've got something that's basically DevOps friendly, where our partners, our customers, you know, initially our own engineers, basically use those APIs to go and basically develop the tools to go and simplify management on top of the product. So this is one of those new things that you can now do with storage by having something that is delivered as software, but can now be redeployed and automated and managed as software, you know, that just happens to provide storage services. Right? So that's a big change here in terms of ease of use, ease of consumption. Now, that set of API is the foundation for our Fusion product, right? And so Fusion is giving you a simple, very streamlined single pane of glass for all of your environment, right? So in this case, you see that your main dashboard giving you access to a number of appliances. So these are NexentaStor nodes. You see one HA cluster and then 3 single node configurations, right? And then from there, you can dive into any appliance and do your pool configurations, your file system creation, LAN creation, services monitoring, creating snapshots, clones, replication streams, and so forth, okay? Another area of criticality when you look at large enterprise type environments is storage analytics, right? So it's not just about being able to go and deploy the software and run it. It's about keeping an eye on how things are going, getting the right monitoring aspects, and then getting enough data from your infrastructure to be able to go and troubleshoot what's been going on, right? So Nexenta Fusion basically now is able to go and collect a lot of data from your NexentaStor nodes. We actually capture all this, store it in an internal database, and we can go back up to 2 years back in time, right, showing performance trends on pools, file systems, and volumes. So you have access now to a lot of data. You have a very nice visualization framework now to go and create those dashboards and do analytics on your storage. So all of that effectively is new in the software from Fusion to NexentaStor 5.
That's great. I mean, it's so much easier for people to use this now. I think there were a lot of concerns out in the marketplace generally about how software-defined storage kind of leads you into a path of do it yourself, and it seems that you've got a lot more simplicity here now. So talking of putting it together. Sorry, Thomas.
No, good.
Okay. I was going to say, talking of putting things together, I believe that you've got some reference architectures in place for a variety of components.
That's correct. So I was just going to point out, another thing that we see to make it simpler, right? It's about not requiring changes to existing infrastructure, so being able to go and slide in underneath an existing, say, VMware environment, for example. And in this case, we're just showcasing some of the integration with VMware, again, for 5.0. So this is our vCenter plugin and our Vivo integration. And as you mentioned, Steve, doing all flash with Nexenta is not new, right? We've been doing this now for a good 18 months. We've just seen it kind of just kick off massively the past year. And we've been doing this very extensively with, obviously, Western Digital, AGST, and SanDisk, right? And for this, we've got reference architecture that cover your 2 typical configurations. On the left-hand side, you'll see your SSD-based configuration. So here you're looking at 2 nodes. And again, those are NexentaStor software running on Cisco, Dell, Lenovo, Supermicro, right? We've got a number of configurations with our partners here, connecting back to JBODs full of SSDs, right? So these are great for your, high performance, lower capacity configurations, right? Tailored for your high IOPS environments. And then we've got solutions that combine NexentaStor and InfiniFlash on the back end. So those are great solutions in terms of consolidation of workloads, right? Driving down the cost to the absolute minimum in terms of overall cost per gig, and allowing you to go and scale in terms of capacity to much larger numbers, right? With InfiniFlash, we start at 128 terabyte configurations, and we can scale up all the way up to 2 petabytes of configuration with 4 InfiniFlash behind 2 NexentaStor heads. The things that people typically miss is SDS is very cost effective, so it cannot be as good as what you're getting from your core appliances, right? And what we see, and we've done a lot of benchmarking work on this, is that's not the case at all, right? We actually have great software in the product, and that allows us to go deliver very effective data reduction. We see up to 5 to 1 in database type environments, and this is where our solutions are very effective. We see great low latency, and this is sub-millisecond, which is your common expectation for all flash. We deliver that day in, day out at our customers' environments, and then we can scale IOPS. So here, we're not going to go and deliver the million IOPS, that's really not the goal, but we're at fairly high numbers that in the end will meet the requirements of the wide majority of customers, right? So right now, we're looking at systems that deliver easily 500,000 IOPS out of those configurations. And these are, mixed read-write IOPS. This is not a read-only number. So gives you a good idea of, leveraging, again, great hardware, going all flash, great software to go and actually get full features, ease of management, ease of scale with high performance.
That's right. And if I can just step down to, I mean, all of the intelligence, all of the storage management is obviously in the software-defined layer. But if we just step down to look at the InfiniFlash in particular, this is really big data in a box. In fact, IDC even came up with a unique term for it. They call it big data flash. We talked about being at VMworld earlier, and one of the very consistent things in talking to people there was that people were just really shocked and absolutely blown away by the fact of being able to squeeze half a petabyte into a 3U box. I mean, this density is the highest of any storage product out there, and also the low power. When you talk to people and you talk about half a petabyte, they kind of have in their minds maybe 3 racks. Well, we squeeze it down into 3U, so that's a very dramatic case for consolidation, pretty much along the lines that we were talking about 10 years ago when we were talking about server consolidation. Here's an opportunity to do data center consolidation around the storage shelves. And the power. Our power spec is 450 watts with this thing fully loaded and fully running, but we typically run much less than that. So you can just imagine half a petabyte running on the power of a couple of light bulbs. That's pretty significant and allows dramatic savings in data center power. And the secret to this is really being able to start the design from scratch, and the 8 terabyte cards that you see there. So these cards, there are 64 of them in a full-up box, and they're extremely thin. They present they're lined up front to back so that there is very little airflow resistance, which contributes to the low power. It really, instead of folding up the NAND chips and putting them in a little metal box and making it look like a hard drive, being able to start from scratch and have these cards with massive capacity and also enterprise grade features such as power fail safe capacitors on there really does lead to an enterprise box, which is, of course, is hot swap everything and with redundancy. So we've talked about the hardware, we've talked about the software. Maybe Thomas, you can kind of wrap it up and talk about some of the key applications for NexentaStor and flash-based storage.
Absolutely, thank you, Steve. So maybe what I'll do here is one thing that we've done working closely with SanDisk on the InfiniFlash. We were one of the first partners in terms of actually having production customers combining NexentaStor and InfiniFlash. And so that allowed us to go and basically get a first-hand view at the shift going on once you can hit the right price point. When you combine NexentaStor, standard servers and InfiniFlash, we're able to go and hit on a $1 per raw gig basis, close to $1.50 per gig. You now factor in compression in all this, and you're getting to 50 cents. And being conservative, taking 3-to-1 data reduction, you can hit 50 cents per effective gigabyte on the solutions. At that price point, flash starts to make sense for a lot of workloads, right? And it's not so much a question of I can only use a little bit of flash in my environment. It's no, you can actually use a lot of flash for a lot of configurations, and this is what we've been seeing. So what this allowed us to do is really kind of deliver the benefits of all flash, and as IDC calls them, secondary benefits of all flash, to not just your high-performance databases, not just your high-performance business-critical enterprise apps, but actually take it down to your more generic VM environments, and even in some cases, generic just file serving requirements. We've got customers doing, unified block and file today on all-flash infrastructure supported by InfiniFlash storage backends. What we're seeing is effectively a squeeze, right, of the use cases for hybrid, where in the end you got your lowest cost all disk infrastructure for true backup and archive, and then everything else is turning into all flash, right? And because you're not using the same common software, NexentaStor, you can easily move data, replicate data back and forth between your all flash tier, your primary storage and secondary storage tiers running on all flash, to your tier 3, tier 4 archival tier, again running the same software and just using simple replication workflows to go and move data back and forth. Now with this, and this is the point that to me actually is the most meaningful, we have a number of customers that have way beyond a petabyte of all flash in their data center, right? And so this is one of those things where you think of all flash and you're thinking 20 terabyte appliances, maybe 50 terabyte appliances. We got people doing a petabyte, we got people doing half petabytes, replicating petabyte of all flash between sites, right? And in the end, that have gone all in some ways on taking out older, more complex disk-based, hybrid-based configurations and going with just the simplicity of an all flash pod running NexentaStor. We got partners that didn't require performance. They were actually just looking for a simple solution, saw the combination of NexentaStor and all flash, Infinity Flash, and figured, yeah, look, this actually makes sense for me. It may be a little bit more expensive to get in, but it's marginally more expensive to get in. But those secondary benefits very much make up for it, right? In terms of power savings, space savings, cooling savings, and then just not having to go and mess around with storage anymore when it comes to being able to go and meet the performance requirements from their customers and applications. Right? So it's been a huge shift, and I think the combination of software-defined storage approach, where you start breaking the bundles and basically drive down the cost of the entire solution, is just making Flash make a lot more business sense for a much larger set of workloads. So it's good for customers, it's good for partners like SanDisk and Western Digital, and it's obviously good for us on the NexentaStor side to be able to go and sell our solutions to more customers.
That's great, Thomas. That's a really good summary. Thank you. After going through that, let me hand it back to Ilana to see if there are any questions coming in.
Yes, thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Thomas. That was a great presentation. We do have a number of questions that came in, and if there's any other questions on the top of mind, don't be shy. Please feel free to submit them. First question, when there are multiple applications needing high-speed access to the storage, what prevents one app's need for IOPS from stepping on or hurting the performance from other apps sharing the storage?
That's a great question, actually, and that's one question that's starting to come up more and more as customers are running on all flash. Not so much, to be honest, we don't get the requirements so much from regular customers in terms of people running private cloud. Because in those environments, what you find is your all flash backend actually has way more IOPS than you require, and it's very rare that you get an application that's consuming all of it and stepping on the next one. That's a problem where your backend is too constrained resource-wise, where you have to go protect applications. Once you have an all flash infrastructure for a private cloud use case, all applications have a lot of IOPS capacity that they can consume, and you're not running into those issues so much. Where we do get the request is from service providers, right? And so there we get a lot more people looking at going all flash to go and streamline their operations effectively. And then you can look, it's just better for me, it's simpler for me to go and do everything all flash, but I do want to go and still be able to price differentiate between my bronze service, my silver service, and my gold service. So in this case, they're looking for ways to go and slow down, people that are paying less because they're only buying bronze, for example. So that's why we see the requirement. Today in NexentaStor, we do not have what is commonly called the storage QoS functionality. It's something that we're working on mainly for the service provider use cases. But again, we haven't seen this demand come from private cloud environments where people are just using this in their own on-premise solutions, because the issue of contention on storage IOPS is just no longer a problem in those use cases.
Great, thank you, Thomas. And what would you say would be your target vertical or account for NexentaStor?
That's another great question. So, maybe what I'll do is respond based on where we've seen this actually sell very effectively. And it's really been a combination of mostly large enterprise and service providers, right? So this is the InfiniFlash solution, because it starts at 128 terabytes, right, is not going to go into a small SMB environment, right, or a small remote office environment. But in terms of being able to be deployed on-premise in a large data center, that's been quite effective. So we've got big media companies, we've got utility companies, we've got, well, technology companies. I mean, SanDisk is actually running more than close to 1.5 petabytes of NexentaStor on InfiniFlash in your data centers. And then we've got a number of service providers, right, in the US and in Europe that have just realized that, look, this just makes more sense for them, that are taking away their legacy infrastructure. We've got customers that used to go and have, high-performance tiers and then low-performance tiers on separate systems that are just replacing everything with just this because it's just simpler for them, right? And so these are the ones that are calling us and asking for, hey, can I get a way to go and throttle some workloads? Because in the end, right now, my bronze users are getting the same storage capacity and performance as my gold users, right? So I'd like to be able to go and constrain that a bit. But it's very much a horizontal play in that sense, once you get past a certain scale.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question we have is, can Nexenta using InfiniFlash create tiers of storage with different IOPS and latency for different data sets? Something that you kind of addressed, but just to answer the question.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that. I think you're getting back to the same. What we like to do when we do all flash is actually keep pool configuration as simple as possible. So right now, when we deploy NexentaStor on InfiniFlash, for example, we've got configurations optimized to go and get the maximum amount of capacity with the best performance out of those backend configurations. So you don't go and play around with pool configs to go and get more or less IOPS, right? In the end, you don't have to. So that's one aspect. So you would end up looking at more of a QoS type feature to be able to go and constrain some workloads, which again, like as I mentioned, we don't have that today in the product. What we do see, and this is another key point, is customers deploying NexentaStor on InfiniFlash for their primary and secondary workloads, and then using NexentaStor on all disk architectures for archive. And now using the fact that they've got common software to simply and easily move data, from and backup data effectively from their primary storage to their, tier 4 backup and archive that's running the same NexentaStor solution. Right, on one side you got NexentaStor on high-performance flash, optimized for IOPS and latency. On the other side you got NexentaStor on, large capacity disks, very wide read groups, optimized for lower cost.
Great, thank you. And will you be offering a trial license for Nexenta 5 and Fusion like there was for version 4?
Absolutely. So Nexenta 5 right now is going through its literally last couple of weeks of QA. What we're planning to do is customers that deploy NexentaStor 5 and get an enterprise license get basically Fusion included as part of that license. So you get to have both Fusion and NexentaStor 5 for that NexentaStor 5 license cost. And in terms of what we deliver, it's very similar to what we've done with NexentaStor 4. We'll have a Community Edition version of Store 5 and Fusion. Community Edition is a free version for non-production deployments. It's a capacity-limited configuration, but it's great for people to go and get a sense of the product itself and get their hands on the solution, get a sense of the features and functionality. Then we have what we call Enterprise Edition, and so as part of that, we'll have trial version of Enterprise Edition, giving access to all the features for a limited time.
Great. That's wonderful to hear. In the future, will Nexenta have an automatic storage tiering between legacy disk drives and flash storage?
So, see where we're back to future statements. This is definitely something we're looking into.
Back to the forward-looking statements, yeah.
That's right. And this is very much something that we're looking into. Now that we have Nexenta Fusion as this, one pane of glass, right, managing multiple storage systems, we're looking at ways to go and have data go from, all flash store to all disk NexentaStor configurations, but also going from NexentaStor configurations themselves to object-based Nexenta Edge configurations and potentially object-based public cloud configurations. So all of that is currently being developed as a next step from Fusion 1.0 and NexentaStor 5.0 to those 5.1 and 1.1 releases. So yes, absolutely, these are things that just make a lot of sense once you start having this common control plane, effectively, for storage across all your tiers.
Yeah, yeah. Lot of exciting things to come. And then another question we have, last question we have, unless anyone else has questions out there, is can I mirror both the Nexenta servers and the data for high availability? What kind of failover conditions can be set, such as timeouts, low bandwidth, things like this?
Okay, so this is actually an interesting question because I think it goes back to the architecture of the solution. So, and we had this picture where we showed NexentaStor configuration being a two-node solution with SaaS backend to an InfiniFlash shelf, effectively. What you have in this configuration is you have both controllers having shared access to all of the flash in the InfiniFlash. In a standard configuration, you'd go and create a pool in InfiniFlash with your standard protection, right? So this could be mirrors of the InfiniFlash, what are called BSSDs, effectively SSDs in InfiniFlash. What we tend to do is more RAID plus 1 or RAID plus 2 of the backend InfiniFlash solutions. So that allows you to go and sustain single or double failures in the pool from a hardware perspective. So there's no mirroring required effectively between NexentaStor heads, right? If a head that has a pool and presently running services on that pool, that head goes down, the pool automatically fails over and gets imported on the other head, and all the services get failed over to that other head, right? So this is not so much a question of mirroring as a question of having shared storage with some amount of data protection, which typically is RAID plus 1 or RAID plus 2, and then leveraging the software to go and fail over services seamlessly back and forth between the two heads.
Great, thank you. And if there are any other questions that come up, don't hesitate to reach out to your contact at Nexenta or SanDisk, and we'll make sure to get those questions answered for you. There we go. But Thomas and Steve, I want to thank you so much for your time this morning, and for everyone who is watching live as well as on demand. We will have this presentation available as well as the deck on the attachment, so look out for that. And if there are any questions that come up, again, feel free to reach out to Nexenta or Western Digital, or you can always leave your questions in the feedback, and we'll keep an eye out for those as well. But until next time, make it a great day. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.